So the in-season tournament just wrapped up. The Lakers won. Obviously, the Lakers were going to win the first ever in-season tournament. LeBron got the MVP. He's won another championship, done something that Jordan hasn't.
Done something that Jordan couldn't.
He was never going to win one.
Yeah, the in-season tournament, it was great. It was really good, but it can be better.
But it can be better.
Before we start talking about the mid-season tournament, if you haven't already, make sure you leave this video a like, give us a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on one of our videos. So just really quickly want to give our thoughts on the tournament when it was in like its planning stages, I guess. Apparently the idea has been tossed around for like 15 years. They wanted it originally to like, boost interest during the regular season, compete with the NFL. And originally I remember seeing proposals that they wanted something similar to like the European Soccer Cup, so like the FA Cup. And I thought this idea was fucking stupid. I gotta be honest, because like my reasoning was, okay, FA Cup games are different than like your actual league games. And when load management is like a huge problem in the NBA nowadays, like we're gonna add more games to the season that don't really matter, that aren't going to affect the eventual champion. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know if they actually wanted like an FA Cup style or that was just like, oh, well, this is an example. But having the games actually matter in the regular season was genius, because if it was just outside like FA Cup, it would have been basically Summer League again.
Yeah.
So having them actually matter for the regular season, for playoff seeding, genius on the NBA's part.
What were your thoughts of the tournament like when they were planning it?
I thought no one would really give a shit, just be kind of like an overlay, but I thought it was a good idea, not necessarily for this year, but say 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, maybe at that point it would matter more. So that's kind of what I thought going into it. And honestly, the games that were just regular season, in-season tournament games, they actually felt more important than just like your regular ass NBA game. I mean, that Pacers-Celtics game, maybe it's because the Pacers, this is kind of their only chance to compete for a trophy all year. That crowd was hyped for that game.
Yeah, I'll give it to them. That Pacers-Celtics game, it felt like a playoff game, and it was a lot of fun just as a neutral fan who doesn't care about the Pacers or the Celtics. I mean, I guess you hate the Celtics.
I do hate the Celtics.
Yeah, so you were probably rooting against the Celtics.
Oh, I was rooting for them hard.
There you go. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed watching that game as just a neutral, and I think the in-season tournament is something that, like you said, a team like the Pacers, a young team with a young star that's not going to win the title, that has zero chance to win the title this year, this is something that they can sink their teeth into, right? And honestly, something else I think they did right, the courts. Now, some of them are fucking hideous.
This is disgusting. This is awful in every way.
And I would redesign a lot of them, but it's another thing that adds like a uniqueness to these, right? It makes these games feel different than the regular season games.
Well, it's for kind of the casual fan that doesn't really follow like day to day. Like they just see the court, they're like, oh, what the hell is that? And then you can say, oh, it's the in-season tournament. So they actually know that a difference is going on, because if they didn't do the courts, every single game would just look the same. They would just think it's a regular season game at that point.
And I gotta say, I did love finally seeing a trophy back at mid-court during these games, which makes me wonder, why can we not get the Larry O'Brien trophy back in the middle of the court for the NBA Finals?
There was a report, I actually just saw today on Twitter, that they might be doing that and like just a special other stuff on the court. So that could be coming back, and I think honestly it is coming back.
Final thing that they nailed about this tournament, the crossover between the TNT crew
was amazing.
And the Inside the NBA crew. Oh, it was fucking gold.
When Stephen A. Smith did the like, where does he play for game, that had me dying. And he's like, come on, Chuck, help me out, Chuck.
More of that, please. If we can get that for the NBA Finals.
All-Star Weekend, like have it for everything.
Why not? Now, we did like a lot about this tournament, but there are some things that can be improved. And the first one, this is just a really easy one, I think. Just call it the NBA Cup. I'm sorry, calling it the in-season tournament, it just sounds fucking stupid to me. Call it the NBA Cup. It sounds better. It sounds more prestigious. Just call it that.
You're 100% right. I think they at least started with in-season tournament because if it's NBA Cup, then again, we're getting back to, is this part of the regular season? Is it not? So it's in-season tournament. Terrible name, but it tells you what's going on. That's the point.
It gives me Washington football football team vibes.
It is. It's just like what it is. Like, what the hell does that mean? Also, they need to go further to increase fan atmosphere. We talked about the Pacers crowd that was getting hyped. Like, that was great, but can we get some t-shirts? Can we get some wristbands or something? Like, we need it to feel like these are legit playoff games that actually matter, and the fans getting involved would help a ton.
Well, like, for the Pacers game, I think they gave out like t-shirts and towels for that game.
Indiana.
Because I saw a bunch of Pacers fans like waving the towels around. It's like, how much does a t-shirt realistically cost an NBA team to make?
So like 25 cents.
Yeah, like 25 cents.
Maybe less.
Yeah, so print 20,000 of those, print 20,000 towels or whatever, and if you give them to fans, like, fans will eat that shit up. You're telling me the home crowds in Sacramento, in Oklahoma City, and Utah, like, you're telling me they wouldn't be decked out in those shirts for these regular season games? Like, they would love that.
Also, give us more group games. I mean, 4 was just way too little. Like, what if we got a home and away? Just like more group games. I don't know if it'd really help create them, but it might create a few rivalries as well. We need a bit more group games of the tournament to be a bit longer, honestly.
Honestly, have the group games be like divisions.
Yeah.
Play every other
maybe.
division team, one home, one away. Finally could get some division rivalries going.
That would be nice.
Because we don't have them in the NBA. So there were definitely some things they did right and some things that they can improve, but how about the things that they did wrong? And I think we're gonna disagree a little bit here, because I think the experiment of having the semifinals and the finals in Las Vegas, for me, I think it was a pretty big flop. My guess is they were going for something like the European Cup finals, like the FA Cup final at Wembley, or like in college football, the neutral site games like Red River Rivalry, Oklahoma, Texas at the Cotton Bowl, right? I don't think it worked.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. My thing is, I think they were kind of saying like, okay, you make it to the final, you get a week-long vacation in Vegas to just chill during December. I think that's more so the reason, like, if you pitch like Madison Square Garden, no team's like, oh great, we get to go to New York for a week in December. That's part of it, but I would at least maybe like to see like semi-final games or home games, or the final. If that was in crypto, that place would have been on fire. So I get what you're saying, but also at the same time, a trip to Vegas, not too bad for the players.
No, I get it. It's good for the players, but like, that's my thing and I get Vegas is like the hot sports city right now. You know, they just got the Raiders, they got the Golden Knights, they're about to get the A's. So, and I get the NBA, they want to expand there. So I get trying to, you know, plant a flag there with something, and they're doing it with the midseason tournament. But I saw a tweet before these semifinal games even tipped off, and it basically said, you know, it's a bummer that they're taking away games from home fans so rich dudes can have a networking event.
That's fair.
Like, that's kind of the way I felt about having these games in Vegas, because we just got finished watching the final between the Lakers and the Pacers. Like, can you imagine how on fire the Pacers home crowd would have been to see their team playing in the final of the tournament against the Lakers? That would have been a legendary Indiana crowd.
That would have been hyped. But one thing we can agree on is that 2 p.m. tip-off, at least our time, we're
stupid.
West Coast. I literally had to pick my mom up from the damn airport, basically, and then like 2 p.m., people at work, they're at appointments. That was dumb as fuck.
And it resulted in a dead crowd.
Yeah, dead as
and
hell.
that Pacers-Bucks game was a good game. Like, it was exciting early. They were going back and forth. Had a really good finish. Tyrese Halliburton was putting on a show. And the crowd, it seemed like they didn't care.
Also, it's Vegas. Like, people are hungover. 2 p.m.? Way too early.
Way too early. Most people aren't even out of bed yet.
Exactly.
Just for me going forward, if the NBA, if they want to keep this game in Vegas, I think that's okay. And I don't really know how they would do this, but I feel like they need to make a concerted effort to get the tickets for these games in the hands of the actual fans. Like, if you want to sell like travel packages, like, you know, you get a ticket, you get a hotel room, maybe you get a rental car or something. Like, these semifinal games and the final, like, they felt like all-star crowds.
Yeah.
They felt like crowds full of casuals who don't really care about either team winning.
If the Lakers are in it, of course, there's going to be Lakers fans. There's always that random-ass Lakers fan courtside in any arena everywhere. So, of course, there's going to be Lakers fans. But, I mean, a team from, like, yeah, Indiana or Milwaukee, they're not going to travel well. So they got to do something. Or just give away tickets or something to those fans. Like, why not? Another reason for the fans to root hard.
Exactly. How about the final tonight, though? We just got finished watching it. Of course, AD on a neutral site goes for fucking 40 and 24.
Yeah. I knew the Lakers were going to win. Like, of course, LeBron James is going to win the first ever in-season tournament just to add to the legacy. He was going to make it happen.
Not only win, but go 7-0.
Yeah, and for some reason, the Lakers on a neutral site, maybe that's why the NBA did a neutral site. They knew LeBron and AD would show out. They just always show out the bubble, and now this.
How about next year, though? You excited for the in-season tournament next year?
I'm definitely excited. Like, I'm not circling the calendar to see the games. I'm more excited for the playoffs, obviously. But after this year, it kind of gets you through, like, you know, you have the start of the season, everyone's hyped, and then a couple weeks in, things kind of die down. Now you got the in-season tournament to fill that time a bit. I will say, though, like we said, they either need to extend it was way too short, or maybe one day have like 2 in-season tournaments, because now until the playoffs, there's not like a ton of things going on.
Blazers are coming for that NBA Cup next year.
Yes, sir. Shade in an ant.
Write it in stone. That's the video, guys. What do you think about the mid-season tournament going forward? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving it a like, as it really does help us out. And while you're here, why not check out some of our other videos as well? And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.